What's going on, everybody? I'm Primalliquid, and welcome to my guide for Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles. In this video, I am going to be teaching you how to stat max in Tactics. And make no mistake, this is an incredibly convoluted process, okay? And when I say convoluted, I really mean it. This is probably the hardest game to actually stat max in. And it takes a really long time. Now, there are essentially two ways of stat maxing. There's a soft max, and then there's the absolutely just downright insane method of stat maxing. Luckily enough, they both fundamentally work the same way in a sense. So, before you actually go ahead and start stat maxing, there are a couple of things you are going to need. First of all, it is definitely recommended that you at least have a couple of characters. Now, Tactics isn't really one that you can just power through with a single character. Don't get me wrong, you absolutely can do. However, the process is much easier with multiple characters. For example, I am using 5. Also, I should probably mention, this can actually be done technically from, like, the 4th stage in the game, okay? That is literally how early you can stat max. It's literally 4 stages into the game. In fact, guess what? That's actually where I am right now. I'm still in Chapter 1. If I go to load... So, as you can see, I'm still in Chapter 1, which, yeah, is pretty freaking crazy. Now, before you actually do this, though, you are going to need a few things. First of all, it is highly recommended that you actually go ahead and unlock all of the jobs, okay? It is definitely recommended that you unlock all of the jobs. Now, this video is going to talk more about the soft max, okay? I will also explain the classes needed for a hard max if you want to spend 600 hours doing that. However, for the most part, we're going to talk about a soft max. Now, what you want to do for a soft max is basically decide on how you want to go through the game. There are 2 ways, okay? The first is focusing on high speed and physical attack. The second is focusing on magic and using summoner, as that is typically the more preferred method, as summoner is just honestly insane. Now, one thing to note is on the Ivalice Chronicles, we do not have access to the Onion Knight or the Dark Knight, okay? We do not have access to those 2 classes, which also means nobody is going to be running around with everybody set to Dark Knight, okay? It's not going to happen. So what we're going to do first of all is, let's say you've already got all of your classes unlocked. Okay, once you've got all of your classes unlocked, you are most definitely going to be level 99 at that point. Then what you want to do is you want to equip your Bard class. Now, this is really important, okay? You want to equip the Bard class for male characters. Again, Bard for male characters. Bard is a male exclusive job. If you have female characters, you can use Dancer. They are both fundamentally exactly the same. The only difference is Dancer is female only and Bard is male only. One of them basically works on buffing all of your units, and Dancer works on debuffing the enemy units. Other than that, they are basically the same. There's not really any difference between the 2. Then, what you want to do is you want to go to Zeklius Desert. This is the 4th stage in the game, okay? You can reach the stage in about 40 minutes from hitting New Game. Then, basically, you will start down here, okay? However, obviously, depending on the way you come into the stage, if you have gone a little bit further, you could also start on a different section. Now, one thing to keep in mind is there are going to be a bunch of enemies here. One of them is going to be a bomb. You can also get some random demons and like a minotaur. You definitely want to basically just reset the stage a few times. So simply go to return to world map. Don't worry, you don't get a game over. You don't lose any progress or anything like that. Just return to world map if you have a bunch of enemies. You can have up to 6 enemies on this stage, and that is just a crazy amount. Then you want to use a black mage to turn an enemy into a into a frog. Now, I strongly recommend doing this with a bomb character, just because it's a little bit easier, in my opinion, to actually turn them into frogs. Then, using a knight, you want to use the Arts of War with the rend speed and rend power ability. Doing this, you can essentially just completely slow the enemy down to a crawl, and you can lower their damage even further, so they're only doing 1 damage a hit. This bomb, for example, only gets 1 turn roughly every 40 or 50 turns right now, which is pretty crazy. Then, what you want is a couple of helper characters. So these aren't actually my helper characters. I'm actually going to be using these to level down as well, just so we can actually level them up properly. Now, what you want to do once you've done all that is kill all the remaining enemies. However, do be warned, they can actually be pretty difficult. So definitely have at least one character that will go around killing mobs. So don't try and power level all your characters at once. You will definitely run into issues with that. Then you basically just want to trap the enemy frog in a corner using 2 units. Now, once that is done, you have your character that you want to level down. As you can see, my Ramza is level 16. When I started this, he was level 99. Now, some good ways to do this really efficiently is you can get the teleport ability from the Time Mage. Teleport is a movement ability that allows you to warp instantly to any destination tile. However, if that destination is further than your actual movement range allows for, the movement can fail. And if that happens, that's actually what we really want to happen. So what you want to do then is you want to come to this tile right here. Okay, the reason we want to come here is there's a trap here. This trap is a degenerator trap, which basically every time you trigger it, you will level down. So right now, I am level 16. Okay, so we're just going to move our arrow all the way over to the side. Obviously, it's too far. So we just triggered the trap because our teleport failed. That counts as a sort of a reactivation on the tile. You can't just end your turn on the tile, unfortunately. And then you're just going to sort of wait, go through all the other turns, and so on and so forth. Now, you can get access to Mind Flayers later in the game, which can also lower your levels. However, that is much later. This is a Chapter 1 method. Then, using failed teleports, you are just going to basically repeat the process, staying on the trap, waiting with everybody else, just so you can level down your character. Now, one important note is you have to do this as a bard. The reason this is important is classes in Tactics all have different stat growths. They all have different stat modifiers, and that also means that they have different stat reductions when you level down. That is the reason you want to use Bard when leveling down. Simply due to the fact when you level down as a Bard, you will actually basically lose the least amount of stats. Okay? So then you want to basically go from 99, 30, 40, 50, whatever level you are, and you want to go all the way back down to level 1 as a Bard. So what we're going to do now is we are going to quickly just jump ahead to when I have actually done all my leveling down, and then we will pick back up with where it's time to actually start increasing our stats. Okay, so I finished my leveling down, and as you can see, I did take some of my other classes down to 35 as well. This is simply so I can get Ramza up to 99 pretty quickly. However, do note, if you want to fully stat max, you do not want to level all the way up to level 99. Instead, you want to level up to 20, then level back down to 1, then back up to 20, and then back down to 1, and so on and so forth. The reason is because of diminishing returns. Now, right now, I've set Ramza as a summoner, Esmond as a ninja, and then Powell as a mime. There's a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, I'm doing this before I've actually got things like Mime and Ninja unlocked on Ramza, but also because Summoner is actually one of the best jobs for MP growth, which is kind of important if you're going for a more casting-based build. Then for Esmond, I'm using Ninja because that is absolutely the best for speed, and it also has really good attack and HP growth as well. Then Powell is going as a Mime, simply due to the fact Mime is actually pretty good for attack, magic attack, and not too shabby for speed, but is basically the best for HP. So that's what we're going with right here. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to level all of these characters now up to 99, except for Ramza. The reason being is Ramza, we're actually going to go up to 20 with him, then back down to 1, and so on and so forth, repeating the process. But for now, let's actually start the leveling itself. So for this, I'm going to go over to Mandalia Plain. However, a few things to note first when it comes to equipment. Equipment doesn't really matter too much, however, abilities do. So I'm using Steel here for Ramza, and the reason for that is we're going to be using Steel Gill every turn for a very quick sort of EXP level up style. Then we're going to be using the EXP boost, which comes from Arithmetician. Now, you can get EXP boost from that, and for Steel, you want to get the Thief, and you also want to actually get the Steel Gill ability as well. Now, in terms of class unlocks, obviously, these are sort of what we're looking at right here. So if you do want any of these classes, now you know sort of the levels that you are going to really need for that. Now, what we're going to do, okay, is we're basically going to be stealing Gill from an enemy, and then we're also going to be miming it as well. So for now, let's go jump into a fight really quickly, and we are going to be doing this from Mandalia Plains, just because it's incredibly simple and incredibly easy to do. So let's go ahead and get set up and loaded into the arena. Okay, so we've got all of our units placed now. For our weak level 1 and level 35 characters, we're actually just going to leave them here for a second. Reason being is we are actually going to go ahead and start sorting the actual area out. So we're just going to wait for all of them. Obviously, I've put my stronger units closer to the enemies just so they can actually protect them. I'm going to move my knight over here as well, just so they are safe. Then, using the Black Mage, we're actually going to turn things into frogs. So there's the Toad spell. We're just going to hit this little cat, 51%. Hopefully it'll work first time. Hopefully. We'll see. Alright, so let's just go ahead and do that. No, we unfortunately missed. That's pretty typical. Now, as you saw, my mime did actually start to mimic that. So now if we go to, well, unfortunately it's a little out of range. But yeah, the mime did actually mimic it, which is fine. Right, let's try this again. Now, obviously, sometimes it's not going to work first time. That's perfectly normal. Don't worry too much. If it does fail, just retry the battle from the menu if you don't get it in the first few attempts. So let's see if we can get it going here. Unfortunately, there is a chocobo here as well, which is kind of annoying, but it's also not the end of the world. So we're actually just going to start attacking the chocobo. We are only doing 50 damage, but you know, it is what it is, really, unfortunately. Right, we got Toad working right there, which is obviously great. So what we can do now is we can actually just go around killing all of the other enemies off. So we're just going to use Blizzard on, well, Blizzard on this little goblin, I guess you could say. But we're not actually going to do it right on him. We're going to do it there just because, obviously, I don't want to kill myself, which, you know, could definitely happen. And we're now basically just going to leave the frog alone entirely. Now, hopefully he doesn't move out of the range, but he might. Yep, saw that one coming, unfortunately. It's fine, though. It's not the end of the world. Unfortunately, the mime did slightly trigger there, but, you know, sometimes it does happen. Because, obviously, it basically mimics everything that we're doing. So we're going to just keep wasting turns with these, and then we're basically going to kill off everything except the frog. So let's just go ahead and quickly jump to that. Okay, so what I've done is I've now killed absolutely everything except for the frog itself. I've also used my knight to actually use rend power and rend speed. This has lowered his speed and his attack down to just 1. That means he's basically doing absolutely nothing to me whatsoever. So now we can actually just casually go through, constantly using Steel Gill. And the good news is this will never run out. We can literally do this forever, which means this is a really, really easy way to actually go ahead and just easily level up. So what I'm also going to do now is I'm actually going to use my Black Mage to use Mystic Art and Induration to turn my Knight and my Black Mage himself into stone. And then that is just going to make life a whole lot easier for me. So let's go ahead and carry on stealing in the meantime. Hopefully the mine will not actually ruin this for me, but we'll see. Alright, and we're just going to keep stealing gil over and over and over again to basically just keep on leveling. Obviously, Ramza is gaining a bunch of EXP every single time, like as you just saw. There's Induration. It worked. Hopefully the mine doesn't do it on anyone. Oh, that was really unlucky. Yeah, that was really, really unlucky. Ideally, you want to do this with 2 toads, but sometimes, you know, problems do actually occur. Now, anyway, luckily enough, we don't actually have to do the full process for me to actually explain how this basically works. So essentially, the plan is to level down on jobs like Bard with the absolute worst stat growth modifiers possible. This way, when we level down, we lose the least amount of stats. Then, when we level up, we want to use the stats with the classes with the highest actual modifiers. So this could be like Summoner, Ninja, Mime, and so on. And then, we're going to level up to level 20 on one of these high growth jobs. Then we're going to equip Bard and level back down to level 1 and rinse and repeat the process. Now, it is fully possible to get 999 HP and MP along with 50 speed and 99 attack and magic attack. However, that does take a ginormous amount of time. So yeah, only do that if you're slightly insane, a little bit like me. However, for the best results, or should I say, for enough results where you can easily still crush everything through the game, just level down as a Bard and then level up as something like a Ninja or a Mime, and that alone will still give you more than enough stats to just crush anything the game has to offer. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to throw on a little chart on screen, okay, and this is basically going to have the best stat growths possible for a particular class. That way, if you do want to go to the absolute max, you can do. But though, everybody, that is going to be it for this little guide. I hope you've enjoyed, and I really hope it has helped. If it has, then please be sure to smash that like button, and of course, drop a comment down below, as it greatly helps the channel out. Let me know if you are actually going to go full-blown max stats on a character. I am really, really curious. But as always, though, everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.